Roger that, we're on, and I'm muting.
3, 2, 1. It's not often I get the opportunity to meet someone in person on Zoom for the first time, but I must say, if our conversations on the phone are anything to remind people of, then we're going to have a great conversation. The person here on the screen with me is newly appointed Vice President at Adobe here in Silicon Valley. Please welcome Cameron Burks. Cameron, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, Bob. This is just a fantastic opportunity. I've been looking forward to it for days. So I'm very excited to be here. Thank you.
Same here, and we'll bring everybody else up to speed as to why we are eager to talk to each other in just a little bit. But tell everybody about your job, because right now, everything that's going on in the world, everything that's happening with COVID is affecting you directly. Tell us what your title is and what you do there at Adobe.
Well, thanks, Bob. I appreciate the opportunity. And I'm with Adobe. I'm the Vice President for Global Safety and Security, which also encompasses our business resilience portfolio involving crisis management, business continuity, and general corporate risk. And right now, obviously, we're spending, I'd say 95% of our time on managing the COVID-19 crisis as it involves Adobe. And our main goals around that crisis management certainly centered on the health and safety of our employees and our vendors, our contingent workers, first and foremost. And then absolutely how we can manage it to continue to enable our business to move forward and to enable our customers that we work with and are so grateful for working with us. So it's been a journey. It's been, as everybody has been talking lately, almost a little over half a year that we've been in this. We are a global company of about 25,000 people. And so we're, myself and my team and a huge cross-functional group, we're up 24 hours a day looking at data and talking to folks to understand and get a kind of a picture or a picture that's partially painted of the risk that's present now and that's going to come and how we can mitigate that risk to keep our people safe.
Now let's connect the dots for people. You have this incredible position now. Take us back in time and walk us up to this moment. What were you like as a student? What did you study? And then what did you do in between that time period?
Well, thanks. I was an undergraduate bachelor's of science to a degree major in sociology and race relations, actually, in University of Oregon, up in Eugene, out of high school. So spent 4 years in Eugene, fantastic environment, great schools. I still keep in touch with some of my professors that helped guide me through some difficult times. So very, very much attached to Oregon. Went to Oregon and then actually transitioned directly to the California State University, Sacramento, where I earned a master's in criminal justice over a 2-year period. Now, during the end of undergraduate and sort of through the beginning of graduate school, I was an intern at the U.S. State Department and primarily working for the part of the State Department responsible for security and law enforcement. And within the State Department, that bureau is called the Diplomatic Security Service, and it's comprised of special agents, so federal agents who are accredited to make arrests and carry firearms and do those things. And so that was my first real kind of career experience, relating a bit to what I was learning in school, but also, giving me a view into what public service was all about and serving the country. And from there, from graduate school, the government had their hooks in me, I guess you'd say. And it was, I was quite eager and very proud to go to work for the State Department and was appointed into the Foreign Service as an accredited diplomat and also as a special agent, a federal agent. So I was what I tell most people is a diplomat / federal law enforcement officer, which took me overseas quite a bit, where I served in a variety of different American embassies, leading security programs and our relationship with our host country security counterparts and intelligence community counterparts. In addition to doing time in the United States and in various field offices, I was on Madeleine Albright's protective detail, former Secretary of State Madeleine Albright, and former Secretary of State Colin Powell's protective detail as well, where we had security teams that looked and felt like the Secret Service, and with wires in our ear. But we protected both of them, and especially beefed up what we did, and had different sort of processes put in place after 9/11 when Secretary Powell was in place. And from there, just real quick, from after about 13, 14 years in the State Department, had the opportunity to come out west, back to California, where I was born and raised with my wife and family, and my folks are still here, and family's still here, and became the Deputy Chief Security Officer at Chevron Corporation in the East Bay in San Ramon, and did that for about 9 years before coming to Adobe to lead the group at Adobe.
Now, a native of San Francisco, that's quite a career already, and now you're working at an incredible position that we're going to get into right now. You mentioned COVID-19, and everybody's being affected by it. Our university we've already made plans as a system statewide not to go back into the classroom until next year, probably summer or earliest fall. Is that a wise decision based on your perspective, given what a lot of companies in Silicon Valley are doing about COVID-19?
Well, I'd say it's interesting to weight different decisions, or to assign decision quality or decision assurance based on what institutions are doing vis-a-vis COVID-19. There's so much and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. I talk to a lot of them every day. Some of them are the world's best, and that type of research and that engagement enables me to lead our crisis management effort at Adobe. But there's so much that's not known about this virus yet, and I think that's something that maybe some have lost sight, because we've been in it for so long. But I really equate to where we are right now and still in maybe the first 5 or 6 minutes of a football game in the first quarter. So you can look at that from the perspective of being conservative in your decision making around bringing folks back together, where we do know that proximity is a primary cause of transmission. You can look at sort of a conservative approach to that as a positive, and I think you hear that from folks like Dr. Fauci and Dr. Redfield and Dr. Burks and others. And with the unknowns about immunity, and with the unknowns about what may sort of prevail as vaccines are brought online. Mm-hmm. Right now is a very tenuous time. We're seeing upticks in transmission rates and case fatality rates, hospitalization rates, positive test rates, ICU bed room use throughout the United States and the world. We're seeing upticks around the world, and that was predicted. And it's just a matter of being prepared and ready to deal with these things.
Now, as we look ahead to the holiday season, most of the students and the faculty, and certainly the administration, is hoping there'll be some sense of normalcy. But our reality check is always what Dr. Fauci tells us, or what we get from our local health officials. As the person in charge for Adobe, you gather that information as well, but are you able to connect with them directly?
I am, yes. I've been fortunate to be able to tie into the coronavirus task force at the White House, which has obviously it's changed, it's evolved over the several months from when it was first initiated. I did spend several years in government and ended up in positions in senior staff and senior policy positions that afforded me the opportunity to meet some of the people that now work in the administration in non-political roles. They're seconded from their agencies that they grew up in, the State Department, Department of Homeland Security, others. So through them, I've been given the opportunity to meet the prominent members of the task force. And Dr. Fauci is one, Dr. Redfield is another, the head of the CDC, Dr. Burks. We talk frequently to the head of the FDA, Dr. Fallon, and it's a great opportunity. There's nothing that we do to give us a competitive advantage. This is all about talking to physicians and public health experts and epidemiologists and other sort of disciplinarians in this field that will help keep our people safe. And that's just what we want to do. And I think, that leads to us being able to drive business as well. But right now we're worried about our people. We want to make sure that they're safe, their families are safe, and we can support them.
And I think you mentioned 27,000 employees worldwide. Is that correct?
There's about, there's a range of, low 20s into around 30 of employees. We have vendors and different vendor types, and contingent workers, temp workers. And really what we see is, at least in my group, and I've only been with the company a year and a half, is, we're one team. And especially during a crisis, we come together and certainly treat each other equally. We do before the crisis, we will after the crisis, this particular crisis. So it's a large group, not as big as some other companies, certainly not as large as Chevron, but fairly widespread and global.
And was it as jolting for you as it is for us? We're still concerned about that face-to-face. We've lost that classroom. We have to do it all on Zoom. Even though there are advantages to Zoom that I enjoy, we lose that personal contact day to day with the coworkers. What's it been like for you and your company?
Yeah, I can probably best, my work group, maybe just to give a firsthand account. It's been hard. It's been hard. We've been able to increase our productivity levels, actually, based on what we're doing and some of the tools that, the company's afforded us to use, whether they're virtual, or, whether there's time set aside for social events, time set aside to break and to close that laptop and to do some exercise and to refresh and get some, but, not being around the water cooler, not being in the break room, not being in the same room to whiteboard projects, it's certainly been a shift. And it's been, the great experiment, as everybody said. And technology, I think a lot of innovation, you'll find, and I'm sure you've read this, does come from that collaboration, in-person collaboration. Now, we're a global company where we have teams working on the same, say, product all over the world. So there already is a natural, come together through virtual means, methodology kind of built into our industry. But it's hard. And, some folks are more inclined than others to want to be there in person every day. I find myself as being a person personally, I'll just share, who likes to be somebody in the room or in the building who can walk around and talk to folks, pick people's brains, ask for, yeah. So I miss it. But I also know that, it is absolutely necessary that we're taking the precautions we are right now to keep our people safe.
And very quickly, did you travel a lot in your job? Did you go to Europe and Africa and Asia, or were you strictly here in the United States?
No, I did travel a lot, and we'll be traveling again as soon as this is over. But both at Chevron and at Adobe, routine and very frequent global travel all over the world.
I'm really fascinated by what you studied when you were an undergraduate in college and race relations and issues like that. How has that come into play with what you do now?
It's been really important, and it grounded me and actually motivated me into joining the Foreign Service and being able to live in different cultures and being able to be effective in different cultures and bringing our foreign policy objectives forward and helping us with our goals through various administrations. None of it was political. I'm not political. I was a career public servant, but it's been that study base and that education base got me started, and it got me motivated, and it still motivates me. I think of some of the classes that I took and some of the teachers I had, some of the discussions and debates I had with classmates, over coffee or in the classroom. A lot of those principles that I learned and that opened my eyes when I was much younger in college apply today in entirely new and different ways. But I remember them, and they serve as sort of the framework of my brain, I guess. If so I can't say enough about what what academia offers, and how it plays a role in someone's life throughout a career, and with family, and the values it really delivers, and it transcend. So it just excites me to think about my time in college.
Well, very good. And I know you've agreed to come and speak on Zoom to my graduate students very soon. I'm sure they're going to ask you, how does Black Lives Matter play in all of this? And
Yeah.
we understand COVID-19 is an impact, but what about global warming? What about all the other issues that are happening
Sure.
in our world? As a graduate student, they're trying to figure out their future. How did you figure out yours?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, being an intern in the State Department and learning about, the institution I was interning at, and liking it, and liking the mission and the goal of what it stood for, I had sort of a leg up. I feel I was fortunate. So I knew where I was heading, and I thought it was really important. And I would talk to my fellow classmates about trying to figure out what really mattered to them as soon as possible, so they wouldn't wait until the last quarter of their senior year, or even during graduate school, what they wanted to do, where they wanted to go. But I figured what I wanted to do, Bob, was I wanted to serve the country. I wanted to be in public service, and if there weren't opportunities within the State Department, I would have pursued other government agencies, most likely at the federal level, that I believed would have made the biggest impact in helping our country, and helping the people in our country, everybody in our country, from citizens to legal permanent residents, to visitors and guests, to everything America stood for, really. And it's something that still motivates me to this day, public service.
Very good. That's exciting, because I'm sure the students are going to bring up what I keep hearing in classes for the last few years, but a lot in the last year itself, which is, can we trust the government? Will they ever get anything done? We don't see them being responsive to the needs of the individuals. It's more focused on corporate America, or banking, or international relations. What about us? Given your background in education, how do you try to justify that?
Yeah, it's a fantastic question. And I say fantastic because it opens people's minds. And that's what's needed, I believe, most right now, especially with a generation that is in school, perhaps a younger generation, but also those that are a little bit older and have had career experience and they're now in graduate school. I have trust in our government. And I'm not talking politics here. I have trust in the institution of our government, of what our Constitution stands for, and how our country was formed. I think those principles will prevail, no matter what situation we're in. And there's been a lot of very, very tough ones, a lot of very bad ones this year in 2020. And it's up to all of us to get involved, and to either volunteer or go into public service, to stay attuned, and to really read, to understand the issues, to advocate for positions that you believe really in your heart about. And that's what's great about this country, is you can do that. You can take positions without fear of without a lot of the fears that a lot of other cultures and a lot of other state governments really instill within their people. So I have a lot of faith in what's going to happen, what the future is going to bring. It's going to be an up and down, I think, especially over the next 6 months. I do believe in violent representations of views at all. I do believe in peaceful protests and demonstrations and articulations of beliefs. I believe our First Amendment is the most important amendment we have in our Constitution. I believe journalism and the media is the absolute backbone of our country in so many different ways. And, the trade that you teach and what your students are learning is so incredibly important. It's profound. And, for those that stick with it and go into journalism and at whatever, the local level or the national level, my local hometown newspaper here in the Bay Area, it's the most widely read newspaper, I think, in the Bay Area now. The readership is off the charts. And I look forward to it every Tuesday night, it landing on my driveway, still printed. And I
Very good.
yeah.
Good.
So I commend, Bob, you for what you do, your department, and for what your students have chosen to learn, to study in trade, because it's so important. It is just incredibly important.
You know, I'm a poli-sci undergraduate myself, and I'm a little bit envious of the career path you were able to open up for yourself. You got to be at the White House. You got to interact with some of the major figures in history that were living history for us. What was that like for you personally?
You know, I felt just very fortunate. Every day I'd step into the White House or the State Department or the Department of Energy or Capitol Hill, or the Smithsonian, institutions across the board, the different universities in the Washington area that I would visit, from Georgetown to George Mason University, where I'm a visiting fellow right now at their law school on national security. Spent a lot of time at Howard University. It's a fantastic institution, Catholic university. Every time I stepped into, in particular, the White House or the State Department, I'd pinch myself. I mean, I really would. I never got over the fact how fortunate, a citizen of a country could actually access, the building where some of the most important policies in the entire world were thought of and made.
And with all the craziness of COVID-19 and what's been going on in the country in the last year, today, as we record this, is the day that we said the final farewell to Justice Ginsburg. She lied in state in the Capitol, the Rotunda of the United States. First woman ever to do that. That has profound meaning for those of us who studied this. Tell me what it means to you.
Yeah, I'm really glad you raised it. My wife and I in particular, we've been following the news and watching the processions on TV, last night and this morning in particular. Profound sadness. She was one of the most courageous people ever to live. Profound integrity. She changed this country with so many of her rulings, but with so much of her ideology and fairness, and in standing up for the rights of women in particular, where she'll always be considered an iconic, influencer in this country. And for me to be able to live during the time where she was alive making these policies and is again, I feel very, very fortunate. It's a very sad day. It's been a sad week in this regard. But what it does is it shines the light again on our institution of the Supreme Court and our modem of government, and how I believe that in the end of the day, politics aside, our institution of government will do wonderful things, I believe, in aggregate for our country. And if we approach very uncertain times in the next 3 months, which is a possibility, I think we'll be fine. I'm positive of it.
Very good. Before we move on, we'll make note that there were 2 special ceremonies during the summer.
Yeah.
One for a civil rights icon who passed away.
Absolutely.
It leads me to the question, in corporate America, these issues of Black Lives Matter, these issues of women's rights, LGBTQ, all of the social issues, how are they addressed? Are people able to talk about it? Do executives care about that? What's the bottom line?
Yeah, absolutely. I can, I'll speak for Adobe perhaps. We have a diversity and inclusion senior leader and team. We have and she's fantastic. Her team is fantastic. And we have events throughout the year that honor diversity and inclusion and the importance of it and how it plays a role in corporate America, and how how the respect that goes along with D&I, as we call it, a lot of people call it, does enable a lot of things. It enables our people to feel included, and want to come to work for us in an environment that is open and accepting and tolerant of everybody. I've always believed in that. I won't work for a company that doesn't do that. Our policymakers, our leaders, our senior leaders at Adobe, and I know at many companies, absolutely listen to and prioritize D&I right up there with, with the bottom line. And it's so important these days that, we have an open door and an accepting way about it that's outside of politics and that's outside of government, because D&I enables corporate America and us certainly to deliver to our consumers in the best way possible. We need diversity and diversity in thought, and they go together quite a bit. And we honor that every day.
Well, the one thing I have to ask you about is
Yeah.
how we actually got connected in the first place. And it's a beautiful happenstance or from God or whatever way you want to put it, but I know I feel blessed because it happened. My faculty decided during COVID-19 2020 that the voice that was most listened to, or at least sought after, was Dr. Anthony Fauci from disease HI in Washington. And the thing that was most interesting was public opinion polls were saying the exact same thing. More than 60% of the American people were saying, what's he saying about it? If he's saying it, then maybe we should follow it. That led us to vote for him, Dr. Fauci, to receive a prestigious award. We award the William Randolph Hearst Foundation Award for outstanding professional service in communications. And this year for crisis management, we voted unanimously to give it to Dr. Fauci. And then they gave me the job of trying to get that message to him, which I tried vigilantly to do, until I finally talked to a coworker of yours, a dear friend of mine, someone from my church community, Jeff Jacobs, who just happened to mention at a meeting, you knew him. I'll let you pick up the story from there. What else happened to make that connection?
Yeah, and I really appreciate it, Bob. And I feel grateful for, just playing a very, very small role in this. Jeff's a fantastic professional and friend of mine who I've worked with throughout my time. In fact, he was on my interview panel. And I remember him being the kindest, most gracious person
that he is.
And he really is. And he's as genuine comes. But when he did bring up the idea and asked me for a little bit of help and connected the dots between you and the award and the journalism school and from, I just have to say to everybody, I remember Bob from my much younger days when he was a CNN anchor here in the Bay Area in journalism. So I was thrilled. I was able to through the relationship I had with the White House and the task force, and this was during a fairly tumultuous time, and there hasn't not been a tumultuous time with the task force and this virus, to get in touch with Dr. Fauci through the help of one particular colleague, and to indicate that this was on the table and that this prestigious award from this prestigious school, was there, and they would like to offer it to him. And he was very excited. His staff was very excited. And you gotta think of what he's responsible for, right? I mean, he is, like you said, every opinion poll out there has positive sentiment around Dr. Fauci because he's believable, because he is a professional. And you look back at the work he did on HIV/AIDS in Africa in the 80s and the Presidential Medal of Freedom that he won based on that work. He is a legitimate, objective scientist who wants to save people's lives, and he's been able to navigate through some of these political sort of turns and twists and so forth. So he was really honored that he would be honored in the way that you voted on and offered. So it was a quick yes and a grateful yes. So I know very much firsthand that he's very much looking forward to this.
Well, and we are too, to be honest with you. And the campus community, when I finally put the word out to our director and then to the dean and all the way up to the president, every single one of them just lit up over the phone and said, "Oh my goodness, that's fantastic. How did you do it?" And I said, "Well, I have to give credit to a guy that I haven't even met. Cameron Burks is the guy who actually made it happen."
It's a little tiny role, Bob. I got to tell you. I mean, the award, when I think, senior people like this who have a lot going on, they're when they see opportunities or very gracious things that are offered or that are on the table and potentially bestowed to them, it was clear that this particular award, your recognition, and the way that you came to your decision around it moved him. And you got a quick yes by a Dr. Fauci in the middle of COVID-19. That says a lot about your leadership, the leadership of your school, of your university and institution, and the merits of the award, the recognition. And so I'm just an outlier here who's just really happy to see this all happen.
Well, he's playing it down, and it's okay with me because I'll be forever grateful, as will our students,
Thank you.
the faculty, and our staff. We're looking forward to that November 17th event. I hope you will be front and center in that. In fact, I have some ideas on how to get you involved, so don't be surprised.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you. It's on my calendar. Absolutely.
And there's one last thing. You're a public official. Tell us about what you do.
I am. I am on the city council of my town here in the East Bay. I ran for office in 2016. I was elected, was vice mayor and also served as mayor. And again, it's my passion for public service and to give back. And one of the proudest moments I've had was about 4 months ago. I agendized and brought up to our council and asked for a vote on creating a task force on diversity and inclusion within my town that I believe desperately needed it. I believe that our community here needed some direction in tolerance, and we voted unanimously to create the task force. And since then, we've really done, I believe, some good things and have some good plans that will hopefully progress and make our town a better place, our community a better place for everyone. And I am so thrilled about that and proud of the community rallying around it. Out of 4 years of work, came right at the end of my term, but I just, it's something that public service brings with it.
This is Lafayette, California.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't say the name of my town. Lafayette. Lafayette. Love Lafayette is our motto. So love Lafayette.
And maybe that's the kismet, because my mother grew up in a town in Georgia named Lafayette.
Fantastic.
So I have property back there, and I was thinking, he's from that town here. That's wonderful. But thank you for being conscientious about that. And thank you for helping us with the award. And I also appreciate the fact you want to talk to our students. And we want you to know that you're a friend of the School of Journalism now and Mass Communications at San Jose State. You let me know how we can help you, and certainly in the future, let's see the new toys. Let's see the new technology. Maybe we can help test it for you.
Thank you so much, Bob. I'm honored to be here and honored with the beginning of this relationship that I'm super excited about. So I'm grateful. Thank you.